Okay, so Lil Tay is back in the news.
And no, this time it's not another death hoax. This time it's heart surgery.
Now, if you followed her story last year, I know what you're thinking. Wait a minute, didn't we already? And you'd be right. The internet practically broke when Lil Tay's Instagram announced her sudden passing.
Then just as quickly came the statement that she was safe and sound, and the whole thing was a hoax, allegedly orchestrated by her father. Wild, right?
Right.
So you can imagine the internet's reaction when just a year later another shocking announcement pops up. Lil Tay, now 17, needs open heart surgery for a life-threatening tumor.
To add to the drama, the post included what looked like ultrasound footage of her heart, followed by a picture of her post-surgery in a hospital bed hooked up to machines, with a teddy bear prop beside her.
It's a lot to unpack, and honestly, it raises some serious questions about how we process information online, especially when it comes to someone with a history like Lil Tay's. What do you make of all this?
Oh, it's certainly a head spinner, isn't it? And you're right, given the events of last year, the internet met this news with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Oh, yeah, I bet. What are people saying?
Well, I was going through a Reddit thread, and you know how those armchair detectives can get. And there was a lot of "here we go again" sentiment. Several users pointed out that the previous incident really damaged her credibility.
There was also a fascinating discussion about the specificity of a heart tumor. Some felt it was a tad dramatic, almost too convenient for someone trying to regain attention.
Yeah, I see where they're coming from. It's almost like, heart tumor. Really?
Exactly. And then there were the hardcore skeptics who zeroed in on the image of Lil Tay in the hospital bed. One user even pointed out that the vitals on the monitor appear static, neither zeroed out nor fluctuating. They even included a screenshot with their analysis. Now, I'm not a medical professional, but it did raise an eyebrow.
Okay, yeah, that's getting pretty specific. I'm starting to see why people are going full Sherlock Holmes on this one. It's like everyone's become an expert in medical anomalies and online deception all at once.
It is fascinating, isn't it? Almost like a collective defense mechanism against the constant barrage of information. We're forced to become more discerning, more critical, even if it means questioning something as serious as heart surgery.
Absolutely. But to understand why this particular story is sparking such intense scrutiny, we need to rewind to last year, to that now infamous death hoax. What really happened back then?
All right, let's unpack that. So in August of 2023, a post appears on Lil Tay's Instagram announcing her tragic death. And to make matters even murkier, the post also claimed her brother Jason had passed away.
Yeah.
The internet, as you can imagine, went into a frenzy.
Yeah, it was huge news. I remember everyone trying to figure out what happened.
Exactly. And just when the speculation reached fever pitch, Lil Tay releases a statement. She's alive, she says. And her Instagram was compromised. But then she drops another bombshell. She accuses her father of orchestrating the entire hoax, alleging he was trying to sabotage her career and gain control in their ongoing custody battle.
Wow. So not only a hoax, but a potential weapon in a family feud. It's like something out of a movie.
It's a layer of complexity you don't often see, even in the world of internet drama. And to make matters even wilder, her father vehemently denies any involvement, calling the accusations completely false.
So a year later, we're still no closer to the truth.
Unfortunately, no. The only thing that's clear is that something happened, something messy and tangled, with accusations flying in every direction. And when you factor in the custody battle between Lil Tay's parents, with her father openly disapproving of her online persona and allegations of abuse against him surfacing, well, it paints a very complicated picture.
It's like trying to solve a puzzle where half the pieces are missing and the other half might be from a different box entirely.
That's a great analogy. And this puzzle, unfortunately, represents a much bigger issue. This story, believe it or not, is bigger than Lil Tay. It speaks to a growing sense of unease, a distrust in the very fabric of online information.
That's a really good point. We're bombarded with so much information these days, it's hard to know what to believe. And when someone like Lil Tay, who already has a history of manipulating the truth, makes a claim as sensational as needing heart surgery, it's only natural to be skeptical.
Exactly. We're conditioned to question everything. Think about how often we see headlines that seem too crazy to be true, only to find out they're completely fabricated or wildly exaggerated. It's almost as if we've developed a collective intuition for sniffing out potential BS.
So what does that say about our online world?
Yeah.
If we can't even trust what we see and read, how do we navigate this constant flow of information?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And unfortunately, there's no easy answer. But recognizing the problem, acknowledging that this erosion of trust is a very real phenomenon, is a good first step.
It's like we're living in a world where every story comes with a disclaimer. Believe at your own risk.
It's true. And the sad reality is that this distrust, this constant questioning, it can make it harder to recognize genuine cries for help or support.
It makes you wonder if this whole heart surgery situation is legitimate. How does Lil Tay ever come back from this?
Yeah.
Can you really rebuild trust after something like this?
That's the challenge, isn't it? Rebuilding trust, especially in the digital age, is a long and difficult process. It requires more than just words. It requires consistent action and accountability.
So what would that look like for Lil Tay? What steps could she take to regain some credibility?
Transparency is key. Sharing updates about her health journey, maybe even medical documentation with appropriate privacy considerations, could be a start. But it goes beyond that. It's about changing the pattern, proving that she's learned from the past and is committed to being truthful.
It's almost like she needs to prove that she's not the person she's portrayed online, that there's more to her story than shock value and attention-grabbing headlines.
It's a classic case of actions speaking louder than words. It's one thing to apologize for a hoax or claim a change of heart, but it's another to demonstrate genuine growth and a commitment to honesty.
It's a tall order, especially for someone who grew up in the spotlight. Surrounded by the pressures of social media, it makes you think about the unique challenges faced by young stars in the digital age. It's almost like they have to grow up in warp speed, figuring out who they are while the whole world watches and weighs in.
It's a lot of pressure. And when you factor in the potential for exploitation, the constant pressure to be on and generate content, it's easy to see how things can go sideways.
It's a good reminder that behind every viral sensation, every trending topic, there's a real person navigating a complex world. And while we have every right to be skeptical and critical of the information we consume online, it's important to remember the human element.
Absolutely. It's about finding that balance between healthy skepticism and empathy, between recognizing potential deception and leaving space for genuine change and growth.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. What started with Lil Tay's heart surgery spiraled into a fascinating exploration of online trust, the pressures of fame, and the very nature of truth in the digital age.
It really makes you question how we move forward in a world where information travels at the speed of light, and trust is a precious commodity.
It does. And on that note, we'll leave you with this thought. In a world saturated with information, how do we become more discerning consumers? How do we protect ourselves from misinformation without becoming cynical and jaded? Something to ponder, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. The answer, I believe, lies in cultivating critical thinking skills, in questioning our own biases, and in fostering a healthy skepticism that doesn't extinguish our capacity for empathy and understanding.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, stay curious and keep asking questions.